So we have not addressed this issue in our research. We focused on client-side attacks only.
So if you combine another means like the
like fingerprint or whatever else,
it will be like added value for the to increase the security.
Yes, that's right.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think there is another question there.
First of all, thanks for your presentation. I would like to ask regarding the USB token, vision and speech. Don't you think speech might break the privacy of users?
Yes, so that we mentioned it as a future work, as also as a limitation, sorry. So we mentioned it, I mentioned it in the limitations, privacy concerns, privacy issues.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I think our last paper is about detecting and preventing SQL injection attacks, a formal approach. It will be presented by Muhammad Misbah.
في لابتوب هون ولا في اصلا؟
بس بالله في الأسئلة.
خلص كان في لك.
إذا بده المايك.
ما في لابتوب ولا شيء هذا أسبوع.
الدكتور جعفر. ليش ما بتطلع؟ شوفها أفضل. أيوة. بس على فكرة كأنها فاضية.
لا.
شو؟
هو ايش قريب زين حط على الدستور ولا؟
لا خلاص. زي ما بدك انت. ايش بدك؟ هاي برزنتيشن.
اشوف هذا شغل 2010 2013.
يا عيني.
شوف ممكن تطلع.
ايش؟ بتكبر.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. My name is Mohammed Misbah, from a master student from IT and web developer. I would like to thank authors Dr. Mohammed Al-Shraydi and Dr. Khairuddin Sabri for sharing this paper. The title of this paper, Detecting and Preventing SQL Injection Attacks, a Formal Approach. Outline, overview, SQL injection definition, SQL injection network architecture, motivation, our methodology, contributions, implementation and experiment, the results and conclusion, and any question from you. Overview. SQL injection widely used from attackers in websites and web applications and web systems. Not websites as through www, also web systems, desktop applications, Oracle, Forms, .NET, VB.NET, PHP, any system you can attack against SQL injection attacks. There are many organizations that use databases to store confidential data, such as financial, military, governmental. Part of data are published through to users out to public or to public, but other data are hidden from public. Unfortunately, attackers are not happy for hidden data or for hiding data. So they are trying to steal and access these data for many ways. A very dangerous way that is called SQL injection attacks. The definition of SQL injection attack: SQL injection attack is a smart attacking technique that's used by attacker that reshape or rewrite SQL query or reshape the syntax of the query to access the database illegally or to gain unauthorized access to the database using three commands or three types of databases. One type, DDL or DML, data manipulation language, such as insert, update, delete. The second, DDL, data definition language, such as drop, alter, and drop, alter, and drop table, alter table. Okay. The third, DCL, data control language, such as grant and revoke. This used for permissions and privileges. The Institute Open Web Application Security Project classify the attacks from A1 to A10. The top 10 attack that labeled as A1 is the injection. From this injection, SQL injection. We show normal architecture as you show. Users, you can, from internet, request the website and the transaction from this site, then go to the firewall, then to the web server, finally to the database server. How the SQL injection attack architecture. From login page, the user can write username and password. Not only login page, you can be any field from the page. Not only fields that from login page. No, any field. Insertion field, updating field, you can attack or you can use SQL injection attack. Now the attacker write the username and password from input boxes, username and password, and can write some type of attacks such as tautology and alternate encoding. That is reshape the query from through internet to pass firewall. Firewall cannot detect the SQL injection attacks. And also antivirus also cannot detect SQL injection attacks. There are several types of IDSs can detect SQL injection attacks, but not smart or not smart enough to detect this type of attack. Then pass the firewall, access to the web server, finally get the data from database. There are two places to apply or applying SQL injection attacks. Input boxes or fields and URLs or addresses. This is example. We used Korean character, not as a normal way English character or 1 = 1. No. This is the normal way, but the deep way and not included in the literature using another languages such as Korean characters. This word mean attack. In Google Translate, this mean attack or attack like attack. أيضا also we use like, not equal. Normal way, any attack, equal. No, we can use like, another than equality. This is the contribution for the tautology. You can use like and another characters, not only English character. You can use any language. The second place is URL or address bar. This query used hexadecimal alternate encoding. As example, %20, %20, that is space. This snapshot show multi websites in the www or through www attacked as Yahoo, as username, passwords, Barracuda, etc. Our methodology, firstly, our paper combine multiple fields such as database, automata theory, programming languages, and security. 4 topics. We characterize and analyze common types of attacks that widely used in www. Then we formalize these attacks using automata theory as finite state automata or finite automata and regular expressions. Finally, we implement practical regular expressions in ASP.NET as a running program based on the formalized finite automata. In our methodology, we focus on two types of attacks, tautology and alternate encoding technique. Tautology now, this attack can access data via vulnerabilities that found in input boxes or page URLs. It uses where keyword to inject SQL tokens into conditional query statements that always evaluate to true. In this kind of attack, many models focus on the equality operator only. However, there are other relational operators that give always true results, such as greater than, not equal, less than. This is not discussed in the literature. For example, 3 greater than 1, it's always true. 1 equal less than or equal 5, 2 not equal 1, etc. Or characters A not equal to B. It's always true. That's confirmed tautology attack. In addition to these relational operator, we use like. Always use equality. No, like you can use this keyword to attack any website. An example, lambda equal lambda. Yes, you can use special character, not languages or numbers, also special character. Lambda equal lambda, dot equal dot. Our methodology talked about if the syntax of user input leads to final state as final automata theory. If the user input leads to final state, we conclude that there is an attack. And the finite automata must accept the attack, accept state, final state, accept state. We accept the attack in finite automata. In this case, the system or the model or the programming in the practical side must reject or prevent the query from execution. Finite automata accept the attack, system should be prevent the attack. If the syntax of user input does not lead to final state, we conclude that there is no attack, and the finite automata must reject the attack. In this case, the system in the practical side should accept the query. There is no attack. Or and like syntax, general syntax, or number equal number, string equal string, not only equal, like, and relational operators. This is the general syntax and examples. Hack equal hack, not only single character. You can write statement or word. Like the same. We use illustrated example. We use Arabic language. Ba equal ba. It is always true. This is, we used Unicode character, 2 to the power 16. Normally query, select username and password from users, where username equal to Muhammad and password equal p@sw0rd. Illegal reshaped query, select username password from user, where username equal to Muhammad, or ba equal ba dash dash. This is an attack. And we dropped the other side. Another example, using URL. The previous using input boxes. This use address bar or URL. The URL, the end of URL 888. The attack is the syntax of attack, or single quote attack in Korean, like attack in Korean, dash dash, that mean comment. It is always true. That's tautology attack or confirmed tautology attack. The normal query in database or encoding from developer, select ID password from users where ID equal 38. Now we formalize the tautology attack into finite state automata and regular expressions as theory. The first one, finite state automata graph for tautology attack using equality operator. The first node, Q naught, can accept any sigma, that means any character, any alphabet, 2 to the power 16. Then, followed by single quote, followed by keyword or, followed by any alphabet, or at least one alphabet, followed by equality, followed by at least one alphabet, followed by comment, dash dash. This is the final state Q7. If we access the Q7, there is an attack. The system must be reject, but the finite automata should be accept. And also other relation operators and like operator, like and equal and relational operator, like wa greater than and greater than or equal. The regular expression, we represent the finite automata as regular expressions. We can join all finite automata in one FSA or separate them. In regular expression, we joined all operators in one regular expression. Sigma star in finite automata as theory, that means at least one alphabet, or as keyword, sigma star 0 or more, sigma plus at least one alphabet, and between parentheses, the relational operators, plus like. This regular expression in theoretical, we convert that to practical regular expression in ASP.NET. Now, the pattern or 9, 1, 1 equal, this is not attack. Why? We cannot access the final state. Any expression not access to final state, there is not an attack. This is an contribution. Other techniques prevent equal, prevent single quote, prevent comment. No. If the command access to attack, we prevent that. Otherwise, no. Such as or 900 equal 900, not attack. The second SQL injection attack, alternate encoding. This attack is hidden and dangerous because it can reshape the attacked syntax into normal syntax. As a user, I show the normal attack, but embedded, there is an attack because it is alternate encoding. This attack uses keywords such as car, ASCII, Unicode, anchor, convert, and cast. This is very dangerous query. Car 39, car 32, and the meaning. Single quote, car 32, that is single quote. If we convert car 32, it is a space. As car, not as hexadecimal. Car 104, this R character. This syntax led to tautology. I can write this syntax without write this pure syntax or 1 equal 1. No, I can use the above syntax that led to tautology attack because it's dangerous. Also, we formalize this attack into finite state automata and regular expressions. We no need to rewrite or show, or that's it. ASCII and Unicode and cast and car. Hexadecimal encoding technique. Hexadecimal use 0 from 0 to 9 as number and A to F as character, or small from A to F small letter. We can reshape equality to 3D. Equality in hexadecimal 3D, percent 3D. Also, we can convert tautology attack in hexadecimal attack. That's in URL, it's okay, but it is embedded, there's an attack. And it's very dangerous also. This query, we can write this query to attack any URL and any input box. We convert single quote to percent 27, space percent 20, percent 20, sorry. This syntax, we convert this syntax or formalize syntax to regular expression to prevent this type of attack. This type of attack can join or combine character as character and merge with hexadecimal. You can use single quote or percent 27 or merge them. Oh, okay. Our contribution, the main contribution considering languages in SQL injection attacks other than English language, extending tautology attacks by taking into consideration the operation like and not equal, as we show, discussing in details the prevention of alternate encoding attacks, providing ASP.NET code that can be used by developers. Implementation and experiment, we use as a running program ASP.NET and SQL Server 2014. We divide our work into two parts. First part, how attack can be done and how to prevent this attack. We snapshot SQL Server with the table users with 2 columns and the data from this table. We apply the attack M single quote or 1.5 floating point number greater than or equal 1.49 dash dash. This is an attack with floating point number, not as 1 equal 1. The attack, this is the attack, and the prevention by using the regular expression in .NET in last line. Also like operator with Korean, and the prevention with same regular expression. We prevent tautology attack from the last line of the regular expression. This is the comparison between the theoretical and the practical, where we code in ASP and in the finite automata. This is the real code that can use from anyone, from any company. This real code can detect and prevent SQL injection attack for tautology attack. This attack make test database read only. This is real attack. Using alternate encoding, using cast. This snapshot shows that the test database become read only. This expression prevent cast attack in the alternate encoding technique. We join all attacks, ASCII, Unicode, CAR, cast in one code to prevent and detect and prevent alternate encoding using ASCII, Unicode, CAR, cast. This is real expression to prevent and detect SQL injection attack. And also hexadecimal attack that led to tautology attack, as we show. This expression can detect and prevent the SQL injection attack. Experiment, we use manual testing and tools, discovery tools. Manual testing, we show our code is very powerful and strong to detect and prevent manual attacks or using tool attacks. From tool attacks, we used our real expression to check tautology attack in English language only. Just we add our real expression to detect English only. The sculpture tool appeared that the website is not injectable. We used just English regular expression. Sculpture attack appeared that the website is not injectable, but in reality it is injectable against other languages, such as Arabic language. And also, same results appear when we use hexadecimal alternate encoding attacking technique. Conclusion, we proposed a novel model for SQL injection attack detection and prevention. Our model is based on finite, automata, and regular expression. Our model accounts for different languages by considering their alphabet through the Unicode character. We detect new attacks based on tautology and alternate encoding. We were able to write regular expression in ASP.NET to prevent the syntax that caused the SQL injection attack for more flexibility for users. We validate the effectiveness of our system against some kinds of SQL injection attacks using two ways, manual testing and discovering tools. Our approach can be applied by web developer to secure web application, and can be applied in another languages, Java, such as Java and PHP. Our system can also utilize in our fields such as compiler and intrusion detection system. Any question?
Thank you, Muhammad. Is there any question? Okay, no questions. Okay, Muhammad. Just a quick announcement that the digital forensic workshop will be after the lunch at 2 o'clock, not at 12 as was scheduled. So I think now it is the end of the morning session, and you are welcome to the coffee break. We will have a break for 10 to 15 minutes, and then we will come back to the fourth session. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the first session. Sorry for this delay. And we will start with our keynote speaker, Khalid Moaisher, is country manager and security expert from F5 Networks, who will give us a talk about web application firewalls, the security landscape currently for the web attacks, and where the WAF fits in. Please, you have 30 minutes.
Thank you. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Khalid Moaisher. I am the country manager for Levant and Egypt at F5 Networks. Before that, I've worked as a virus analyst, so at a certain moment in my career, I knew exactly what these things were and how to deal with it. So today, I want to talk to you about a familiar thing, about something that hits every and each one of us. So, these are some numbers, just some figures to give you some idea about the world that we're living in and how we can translate this into value, or how we can put a value on a very abstract thing like a web application firewall. Today we're talking about $3.2 billion billion people that can access the internet. Okay, that's almost half of the population of the earth. And at the same time, we're talking about 508 applications that people are using in general. If you are talking about a corporate user, if you're talking about a personal usage of internet and applications, I might ask anybody of you, do you know exactly how many applications you have on your mobile? The answer would be no, perhaps around 50, 60, something like that. Whatever number you think about it, just double it. And the thing is that the rate which we are coming up with the applications is basically massive. So, that comes with another set of interesting numbers, let's say, with regard to that. One of the most interesting out of these is the fact that if you have that bulk and that lots of applications and that lot of data, one would say, okay, how can I use this data in order to get some gains? This might be financial, this might be political, although that we've seen that the political is not that much. The most and the thing that drives everything basically is more or less financial. So we're talking about 514 million personal profiles that were either hacked or the data related to it was leaked in a way or another. Compared with 3.2 billion people that are connected to the internet, that means almost 1 in 6, which is quite scary. So, if everybody is connecting to the internet, and if everybody is, oops, okay, let's play it. If everybody is connected to the internet, and if everybody wants in a different way or other to use the internet without any questions asked or raised, flags raised or something like that, we're talking about the fact that people tend to categorize these things. Like would say, for example, okay, I'm just a news agency. Would I get hacked for a reason? Or they would say that, okay, I'm just a simple portal that is offering some information with regard to the stock market. Is it important? Or anything. Just think of it as every information matters, and the value of things are decided based on two things. Either what you have or what you represent. Okay, you might not have much. Let's say as, I don't know, as a news portal. But the fact that you have 1 million people accessing you, that's the value in it. So, we have, as I've said, lots of guys that are saying, okay, I don't have much, I'm not a bank, I'm not an agency, I'm not a governmental entity, I'm just simple news agency or simple portal or something like that. Would I get hacked? The answer is yes. There are some people that are interested on hacking your system. And why is that? Because you're not paying attention to very, very basic and simple rules. So the idea is, hence the request from my side to have 7 reasons why do you need a web application firewall. Okay, you have a web application, you have a server, you're running something, but let's be honest, lots of people, they are not giving, if you're giving it to a programmer, I was a programmer, okay, the most important thing for me was for the program to run. I was not interested in its security. I was not interested what happens if there is an exception that I haven't dealt with. Exceptions are for quality assurance people to target and to discuss and to sort out. It's not my problem. Okay, how can I, so where is the backlash, let's say, with regard to that? The backlash is the fact that no matter what you do, there are some people that you don't know that are interested in the information that they think that you have, or actually you have. So the most important thing is to start by the basics. And the basics is that I need to block the bad requests. How do I block bad requests? What is a bad request? A bad request is a request that comes from an area that I have no idea about, and that basically nobody generated it at the beginning. So I need to stop this in a way or another. Here is a list. One of my colleagues was talking earlier about the SQL injection and what does it represent and how you can manipulate data and how you can get metadata and something like that. And later on take all these and throw it in a data mining, let's say, company that will dig in and get the information from there. But here are these kind of bad requests that we know about and that usually developers have ignored for the sake of operability. Okay, it's running, perfect. Security is a second thought in my head. What I need to do is to make sure that this one is working. So, if I know the bad requests, that doesn't mean that I'm 100% aware, or let's say can mitigate these kind of attacks. Another vector is that I need to know exactly where is it coming from. Worldwide, there are lots of organizations that collect basically all the bad IPs in the world. Like you have, for example, the spammers list. If a spammer starts a spamming campaign in China, it would be wise to block it all over the world. So this is something that you should consider when you pick up your web application firewall. Bad IPs. Reputation. That's something that we need to think of and to determine when we're talking about a web application firewall. Because a web application firewall, without the reputation that comes with it, is basically not, I shall not say useless, but its main function, core function, would be reduced by at least 30%. So this in your web application firewall, think of something that can work proactively and on a global scale. Don't think local, think a bit global. Even if your business is local, you don't know exactly what might happen. One important thing with regard to web application firewalls, and when we talk about it, is the fact that, again, we're talking from the very basic of things. Developers. Developers, I used to be a developer. I didn't care much about security. All I cared about is for things to keep moving. So if they asked me to do this, I would do this. Am I securing this? I have no idea. I didn't care. So this is something that lots of programmers don't really think about a lot. I might send some information, or I might publish some information that are very harmful, that can be like giving the key to my house to the hacker itself. One example is for, let's say, that I say exactly what kind of web server am I using here. So if someone knows exactly what kind of web server I'm using, they might be interested to know they might be, or not might be, they will be tempted to explore the version flow that might be there. So this is making the job of the hacker easier. What can a firewall, a web application firewall, do? Simply, it can shut down these kind of information that flows through the internet to anybody that is looking for this kind of information. Masks the sensitive data. Again, we are talking about the very basic of things. Okay, so I'm communicating. I'm sending the information between the web server in a plain text. That's a bit of a problem. Today, when we see the paradigm and the shift from HTTP to HTTPS, that might be a concern for everybody. So we should think, and we should consider having some encryption with regard to the files or with regard to anything that I'm sending over internet. I might put, for example, credit card, I'm dealing with credit cards and so on. There is regulation from PCI telling me that I need to do this, 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 and that. If not, I'll lose my license. But till I get there, am I 100% sure that this is something that I've been looking into? This is, again, another question that needs to be answered. Very important is to see the kind of the hostile traffic that is coming towards you. Let's say that, for example, lots of sites are today prone to DDoS kind of attack, distributed denial of service type of attacks. The thing is that these, let's say, attacks are basically can be put into two big categories. The volumetric, where basically I shut down the bandwidth that you have. The second one would be the smarter one, going to the layer 7, exploiting the errors in the web server itself, communicating with the web server itself and seeing exactly what kind of information is coming back from there. So in order to do something with, and these are small attacks, type of attacks, you're talking about maybe 200 kilobytes, so not much, very small file compared with the files that we exchange every day. So this is something very, very smooth, I can say that, and to the point. So what I need to do is basically to see exactly what kind of traffic is coming, what kind of and to have the data in order to analyze it later on at a certain stage. So it's not only proactivity, you should have also a reactive component to the web application firewall, because this will help in the future. We're talking a lot about artificial intelligence and things like that. We're talking about the fact that in a game of Go, for the very first time, we've seen a computer beating a human, which is not like the chess or something like that. So this is the future. This is where things are going. This is the direction of things. So analytics is part, not of the reactive way, but it's also some sort of a trigger, a buckle, to see exactly what's going on in the future as well. And finally, I've talked about it a bit, but it needs also to highlight on something that the DOS attacks are being more and more visible, are being there and are part of the reality and of the things that we are witnessing. There is a surge of almost 370% in the layer 7 DDoS type of attacks in the past 3 years, which translated, actually, if we want to translate it, that means almost 2,000 to 3,000 sites are brought down every day due to DDoS attacks, layer 7 DDoS attacks. And again, these are type of attacks that you can start with $100 and so on. So you don't have even to have your crew, bring your people, do this, do that. You can hire people that can do that on a professional way. So now we come to the organizational part of it. The PCI compliance. Usually these are the financial institutes that look into these kind of things, or healthcare or something like that, where there is regulations with regard to what kind of data you can pass on between you and the end user. Lots of hospitals, for example, you would say that, okay, what is it in for me as an end user? How can it affect me? Well, think of this scenario. Healthcare, you went to the hospital, you had your medical test, and the hospital told you, okay, you don't have to come back to me in order to tell me, in order to get your test results. But you can log into your internet, to our website, insert this code, that code, and you have the test results. Imagine that you can have this data, this intimate data about yourself, okay, being published over the internet or being used by someone else. This is not kind of privacy that we want. So again, it's not a matter of you'd say that nobody cares about if I'm having cancer or not, but it's not like this. It's the basic right for every human to have the privacy. So think of it as a way to enforce privacy. I think that's basically, that's it. That's my presentation. As I've said, I prefer to be very simple, keeping it at a very, very simple level. If you have questions.
Thank you.
Please.
Any question?
Yes.
Can you say something about the overhead using such a system?
The overhead. Actually, very good. The overhead of these kind of, let's say, of using a web application firewall is that you're talking about an increase in the level of encryption, an increase in the level of, let's say, computing power, and an increase in the costs. But again, the question is basically related to this point. How much value can you put on privacy? So the question is back to you.
My question was more about performance.
Performance. Performance overhead. Let's say that generally speaking, if we're talking about latency, let's say, I can say that the latency is measured in milliseconds or fractions of milliseconds. So this won't be, let's say, an end to the game. Okay, it's simply another way of, I mean, and if we take into consideration the fact that 10 years ago, 1 meg was considered high speed. You have some places on Earth that you have right now 1 gig. Okay, and I'm not talking about corporate banks or something like that. I'm talking about residential. And so the thing is that technology is rolling over at a very, very fast pace. And at the same time, I can say we, as technology companies, we're also striving in order to reduce that latency. The cost, if we're talking about costs and something like that, is also getting lower and lower because the equipment itself is cheaper and cheaper by day. There is another point here which is worth talking about when it comes to overhead, is the overall burden on the internet itself. Okay, what do we do in case that encryption, every site is encrypted and every site, well, guess what? Last year we've witnessed almost 30% of all websites that are being accessed on a daily basis having encrypted traffic. Have you witnessed in the last 12 months any reduction in its speed? No. The thing is that we're finding ways and ways in order to reduce as much as we can, because this is what we're trying to do. It's not a 100% foolproof science, but we're trying to reduce as much as we can this burden on the end user experience, on the technology part of it, and from financial point of view as well.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yeah.
Are you using WAF as a defensive appliance or as a defensive appliance? Because what I know is web application firewall is used to filter, so it's on the defense, and I don't know how are you using encryption in it?
It's basically
it's supposed to be decrypting the traffic if it can, not encrypting the traffic. I'm not going to use a WAF. I'm not going to filter my outside traffic using it. It's not used like that.
no. It's never mentioned. It's never meant to be.
That encryption is an overhead.
No, I'm hiding information with regard to the. You're referring to.
You're hiding information. How do you hide my information? I'm using it as a defensive side. It's not used to hide my information. It's used to protect my assets.
That's true.
Not the other way around.
No, that's true. That's true when it comes to that. But part of the web application firewall, as I've said.
Plus, sorry.
Yes.
If the encryption part, if used, it must have some sort of agent installed on all the devices, so I can decrypt the traffic. Because if what you are saying now, this means there is no use of using any encryption with any sort of traffic, because your firewall will decrypt the traffic, and that's not true.
No, the firewall will not decrypt the traffic. It will make sure to hide some information that are there. The encryption and decryption is the protocol with regard, is the work of the protocols of encryption and decryption. Maybe some SSL offloading, let's say devices, or SSL encryptor.
Why do I want to hide the metadata that I can use to defend my network?
Because you're using actually your web application firewall.
To filter my traffic?
No, not to filter your traffic. It's not filtering your traffic.
Why do I hide the attacks?
Please,
yes.
can we leave the discussion for after? I prefer that to ask questions and have a response, but discussion we can do it on offline.
No,
thank you.
Any other thing?
Any other
questions? Yes, please.
Do you have any idea about the several compliance rules in Jordan? For example, the PCI, the IFA, are they implemented in Jordan?
This is a legal question. I can help you with the answer later on because it's going to be a long discussion. Okay. Sorry for that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for your time.
Before starting the presentations, we have Captain Anas Al-Jarma from the Cybercrime Unit. He will give us a brief talk about his unit.
Hello, everybody.
Switch on.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. I'm Captain Anas Al-Jarma from Cybercrime Unit, Criminal Investigation Department in Public Security Directorate of Jordan. We are here to say Cybercrime Unit work in Jordan since 2008. We're here to have knowledge, because knowledge is the first step to investigate in any crime. Now, traditional crime have simply part of this use cybercrime. So we are here to coordinate and cooperation with companies, university, researchers, any person interested. We have our website, cybercrimeunit.org.jo, and we have a page on Facebook, and one have a question, and one will coordinate with us. We're ready to that. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Now we start the presentations. As you know, yesterday we had a power cut. So we'll start first by the three presentations from yesterday. And I do thank the presenters of today for accepting to shift their presentations. So the first presentation will be on Windows forensic investigations using Power Forensic Tool by Akram Barakat. Where is the yeah. So you have 15 minutes, please.
Assalamu alaikum. Hi everybody. Before the beginning, I'd like to thank Dr. Ali Hadi for his... Hi everyone. Before the beginning, I'd like to thank Dr. Ali Hadi for his continuous support to finish this research. I will present our paper, Windows Forensic Investigations using Power Forensics Tool. Before we start, I'd like to ask the question: why digital forensic investigation is important? Increasing dependency on digital devices and information systems require or raising more threats and vulnerabilities that require a special kind of handling, different than traditional forensic investigations. There is many digital investigations model talk about digital investigations, but it's mainly consists of 4 stages: preparation, physical investigation, digital investigation, and results. And for digital investigation stage, it consists of 5 stages: preparation, preservation, the evidence, collection, examination, analysis, and reporting. As you know, the digital investigation methods mainly depending on the software and hardware types. So in our paper, we focused on Windows forensic investigation as a software type. And why we choose Windows forensic? Last or recent market share statistics show that around 87% of clients' machines running Windows operating system. That's why we chose Windows forensic. There is many type of evidence sources can collect or can use it to collect artifacts from it, but the main evidence sources are NTFS file system, Windows registry, prefetch files, and Windows Event Viewer. NTFS file system is the file system used with the Windows operating system since Windows XP. And Windows registry is a main database that store configurations and settings and variables that used with the Windows operating system and installed application on it. And prefetch files is files that you located on special or specific location that provide us many artifacts related to user activity and application activities. And last thing, Windows Event Viewer is a sequence of logs and events that may help in might help in investigation to know the list of events before and after and during the incident or case. PowerShell is a Windows PowerShell is a utility or is a command line that is a command line and a scripting language that used in operating and Windows that use with Windows operating system, and its have ability to access Windows configurations and parameters. That's why there is many tools based on PowerShell that can help an investigators to access or to extract artifacts from it. There's 2 types for these tools. First type is tools that not specially used for forensics, but it can help us to get and extract artifacts from it. And other type is a tool specially used for forensics, and we focused in our paper in one of these tools. It's Power Forensics tool. Power Forensics tool is a PowerShell module that used specially to extract artifacts from Windows operating system and have ability to extract artifacts from live systems and offline images, forensic images, and had the ability to collect evidences from different levels: disk level and file system level and last level, OS level. We will discuss each level now. First level, disk forensic artifacts. Disk level, it's mainly focused on hardware level, on sectors and bytes, or we can say binary level. It can give us the ability to extract artifacts related to boot records, disk type, partition type, and so on, and can present digital binary data in forensic format and depend on physical disk name. This is example for presentation the data, the binary data in forensic format. And next level, it's a file system forensic artifacts. It's focused mainly on file system files, or we can say clusters. And this level can give us the ability to extract artifacts related to file system files, activities, deleted files, timestamps, and so on. And it's fully supported on NTFS file system, and it's but partially, or there is a certain commands that, or certain artifacts supported on FAT file system and ext4 file system. And it's depend on volume and depend on volume name or partition name. Last level, it's a Windows forensic artifact. It's focused on Windows files and components, and it have ability to extract artifacts related to user activities and application activities. It depends on OS installed, of course, and but on at that level, there is two types of artifact extraction: direct extraction for artifacts and indirect artifact extraction. Direct artifact extraction, it means that you can extract data directly from using this tool. That means that there is a built-in commands that can extract the common Windows artifacts. And indirect artifacts extraction, it means that there is a, we can say, dynamic way to extract not undefined artifacts using this tool by navigating Windows registry and Windows event viewer to get or to reach the needed artifacts. As you know, extracting artifacts not really helpful, or not really helping in investigation unless there is a sequencing or ordering these artifacts according to the time. And the Power Forensics tool can generate a timeline from these artifacts collected. But there is some limitations related to the evidence sources that collected by this tool. Now, on the experiment discussion, we found that Power Forensics that provide more flexibility in collecting artifacts by using the indirect artifact indirect extraction way, and it's an effective tool for real-time collection, and has ability to it has ability to collect evidence from remote machines. It's a PowerShell feature, and but still require some development to reach more accuracy and more and to be more powerful. And the last thing we need to mention that we used Windows 10 and Office 2016 during this experiment, and thus this will show some limitations related to newer operating system versions. Now we will conclude our paper that Power Forensics tool is a perfect tool for Windows forensic investigations, as covered many artifacts on different levels in comparison with other tools, and it's based on, of course, Windows PowerShell, and work with offline and online forensic images, and has ability to automate integrating with other processes, and but still need some development and enhancement. That's why the future work was enhanced by enhancing the Power Forensics tool and expanding the coverage, or expanding the supporting of this tool to be not only on the Windows operating system, but on other systems supported PowerShell, like such as Windows Exchange Management Shell, and so on. And as this tool has ability to run commands or extract artifacts from remote machines, and has ability to automate the extraction process, so it can use it to build a threat hunting system that can prevent or detect threats before exploiting on our environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Yeah. Please.
I guess you investigated a certain power forensics tool running under Windows. No, I have good voice.
Okay.
The question is the following. You always state it can do the following, it can do the following, and you did one experiment, which I feel does not represent the actual situation. And you claim that it is better or provides more flexibility than
other tools.
With what you are comparing. You provide more flexibility when you just go experiment discussion, for example.
Okay.
Here, provides more flexibility.
In collecting artifacts, there is an option to collect artifacts from Windows level.
Comparing with what? Power forensics provides more flexibility.
Okay, in collecting artifacts on Windows level side, okay, there's an option to collect by indirect. By indirect extraction. There is ability to navigating Windows sources such as Windows Registry and Windows Event Viewer, navigating by command line, by PowerShell commands to Power Forensics commands to reach needed artifacts and extract it.
Can I ask just a continuation of the question?
Okay.
In this presentation, what can you claim to be done, not previously done?
What can done? Okay.
What is your contribution that nobody knew about, and you are claiming that you revealed it?
Okay. In comparison with other tools, we can see that there is not many tools talking about or build, for forensics based on PowerShell. But for example, PS Recon tool and Cansa tool, these two tools built especially for forensics, and it's supporting only on OS level artifacts. But Power Forensics tool has ability to extract artifacts from Windows level and file system level and disk level. Okay. So it's better than other tools at this level.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. George.
Consider creating a live version of Power Forensics on USB with a cut-down version of Windows.
Okay, you mean light Windows boot image?
Yes, you have a bootable USB.
This, yes.
And then you could mount other disk types and execute your searches on other disks.
Yes, I think this will help more in investigation. Yes.
Another question? Thank you. So we move to the next presentation. Is about Android forensic investigation and investigating social networking cyber crimes against man-in-the-middle attacks. The presenter is Khulud Ali Juma. It's not.
طيب اجت اتوقع هنا الكيبل نفسه اصلا هذا مش بس هذا الكيبل
لا الكيبل الثاني اتوقع
ايوه بس
Hi everybody, my name is Khulud Zaabi. I'm from Zayed University, United Arab Emirates. During my studies, I conducted an investigation of the social networking cybercrimes against man-in-the-middle attacks. Here are the topics which will be covered in today's presentation. Cyber attacks are increasing due to the increased usage of social networking applications built in the Android device via secured or via Wi-Fi connections, resulting in privacy issues. The purpose of conducting this research is fourfold. First of all, propose an Android forensic framework for against such Wi-Fi attacks using sophisticated forensic tools like, for example, Celebrite, UFID, and Oxygen tool. The second thing is to guideline or implement the guideline for the forensic investigator, especially for the guys who are new in the forensic field. Third thing is to guide the Android and the third-party application developers to enhance their level of security, and finally recommend the best data extraction methods designed for Android devices. Technological advances in the development of the mobile devices has extremely increased their popularity. Therefore, the civil users are rapidly moving away from using their personal computers towards smartphones and tablets. Currently, 7 billion of the foreign devices are being used worldwide. That's why the crime or the smartphone crimes has been increased. Android device is one of the most popular Android smartphone platform after the iOS during the third quarter of 2010. It encompasses of 25.5% of the world's phone device. But unfortunately, Android and its third-party applications built in the Android device have very poor security. That allows the cyber criminal to compromise the Android user's confidentiality. SM Mobile Systems reported that all the smartphones will be at security risk whenever the phone device users attempt to connect their devices via encrypted Wi-Fi hotspots, then they will become susceptible to the man-in-the-middle attackers. And therefore, the attacker will be able to intercept the communication between the two parties without their knowledge. The Kaspersky Lab Security stated that, or the Kaspersky Lab Security illustrates various types of Android devices, and they stated in their study that the number of Android attacks and the targeted users grow dramatically during the period between August 2013 and July 2013. This study investigates the visibility of extracting the LinkedIn-based Android device against or after performing man-in-the-middle attacks via a secured Web2 connection. Here are the approach diagram. The first stage, I installed Portswigger certificates in both in the suspected victim-based Android device, and respectively I installed it in the Proxy PC. Proxy PC or workstation, I use it to intercept the communication between the suspected victim and the LinkedIn server. Process number 1, as you can see in here, the suspected victim, whenever he tried to post any comments to the LinkedIn server, the man-in-the-middle attackers, he has hacking tool, like for example, Barbsuit Professional. He monitor the transmitted traffic, try to intercept this traffic, and then try to modify or alter the traffic. As you can see in here, the Barbsuit Professional was able to intercept or sniff the LinkedIn users' credentials, username and password. And therefore, the attacker utilize or take advantage from these credentials, use it, log into the LinkedIn account, and attempted to send explicit emails with inappropriate language to one of the LinkedIn or suspected victim connections. As you can see in the process 4, there is one user, or he claimed that his friend or he received email with inappropriate language. Therefore, he raised an incident to the forensic or to the cybercrimes police for further investigation. Here are the forensic investigator role to investigate for this crime using UFID or Celebrite UFID and Oxygen tool to extract all the data from the suspected victim to approve if there is any incorroboratory or excorroboratory evidence using UFID, Celebrite, and Oxygen tool. Here are the connections. In the middle, it is Celebrite UFID Touch, and in the white one, this is the suspected victim device, and on the other side, the external hard disk to extract all the data inside it. Now, come to the experimental results. First of all, using Celebrite UFID tool. Forensic examiners was able to extract valuable evidentiary. As you can see in here, detected manufacturer, phone revision, and detected model. These three values assist the forensic examiners in choosing the appropriate extraction methods. As you know that Celebrite UFID didn't support all the phone devices, revisions, and models, and corresponding to that software versions. I also was able to extract more valuable data, which were ICC ID, IMEI, and IMSI. These three values are unique numbers and assist the forensic examiner in identifying the real criminal, and besides that, to determine which SIM card was used to commit this crime. I also was able to reveal the user data, like for example, calendar and the message and the contact list, the videos. Also, I was able to extract the information email, as you seen that this email is incoming emails. Incoming email, we can from this email we can prove that the suspected victim is he is innocent. He didn't commit the crime. But still, all these data or all these evidence didn't assist me in approving the innocence of the suspected victim, as all these values indicates the good relationship between the suspected victim and the guy who raised the complaint against him. That's why, and also in the forensic, it's better or it's recommends to not only rely on one single tool. That's why I attempted to investigate this crime using our tool, Oxygen tool. In the Oxygen tool, I extract the physical image, while in the UFID Celebrite, I extract the logical image. Okay, using the Oxygen tool, I was able to extract valuable data, like for example, the owner accounts. As the owner accounts, I found three relevant data: the owner email address and the encrypted password of this email, and two network information, which were MCC and MNC, mobile country and mobile network codes respectively. I also was able to reveal the mobile device internal name and the mobile device serial name. Also, I was able to owner phone number. As you know, MCC and MNC, it will accelerate the investigation. Instead of wait for the network service provider to provide us with this information in order to identify the real criminal, and the network service provider who is approved this phone which which the suspected victim used it for committing this crime. So these two values, the network information, will accelerate the investigation. I also was able to reveal one database file. It's called application list.db. As you know, that SQLite database is the crucial or play a crucial role in the forensic examination. So within the application list.db file, I found three relevant and interesting evidence. One contains one tool, king root, and the other one root checker, and the third one Z-anti tool. Z-anti tool, using this tool, you can install the Borswigger certificates to convince the victim and therefore to let him trust this spoofed certificate. I also was able to get informations in the Oxygen tool. Oxygen tool will collect all the crucial informations and dump them in one section. We call it key evidences. As you see here, the more crucial evidence found by Oxygen was the email. The email, from the email, I can reveal the data, the timestamps, and also the GPS location. But as you can see here, all the email is incoming email. Means that the suspected victim didn't commit the crime. I also was able to reveal the Borswiggers. The Borswigger certificates, it's appear here in the Oxygen tool, which means that there is a man in the middle attack, and the suspected victim, he didn't commit the crime because there is man in the middle attack. I also revealed one more valuable data file, B-list file. This B-list file contains Wi-Fi settings. In the Wi-Fi settings, I found two SSIDs. Two SSIDs means there is a possibility that the suspected victim connect his device via public Wi-Fi, and there is man in the middle attack. He used hacking tool like, for example, Wi-Fi killer. So he attempted to kill the public Wi-Fi or the public SSIDs and forward all the victims into his fake SSIDs. Okay. From all of these findings, I was able to answer the forensic investigation: where, how, and when, and who committed the crime. Overall, in my research, I revealed the most, or I demonstrated the most vulnerability, social networking vulnerability against man in the middle attack. I also demonstrated the major security flaws associated with the WBC, which is wireless protected setup feature. Also, I conclude that the Oxygen tool was the best tool in this case. I mean, in this case, okay, for the extracting more and crucial evidence against the suspected victim or the victim. In a typical investigation, it is inevitable to assume that the suspected victim commit this crime or send an explicit emails. Also, as you know that Android forensics is still in its infancy. So that's why I strongly recommend to learn which methods are appropriate in the wide diversity of the Android operating systems and how to forensically acquire a concrete or a solid evidence to be admissible in the court of law. I also advise the wireless or the wireless adapters users to turn off the WBS feature. The recommended future work would entail investigating a Wi-Fi or a man-in-the-middle attack based Android device by injecting a malware and then analyze or extract this data using UFID physical extraction in a forensically accepted manner. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you. Any question? I have one. It's about the use of oxygen for extracting the physical image. I am wondering why didn't you use Celebrite?
Yeah, to be honest, see, my research paper was encompasses from 22 pages. Okay, first of all, I attempted to extract the data using Celebrite UFID physical extraction, but I failed. And also I communicate with the Celebrite company regarding this issue. As I mentioned that not Celebrite UFID didn't support all the phone device versions, and that's why I faced issue. So I tried to extract the physical extraction using oxygen plus optical extraction using the UFID. And I got challenged while extracting the physical using UFID.
Thank you.
Welcome.
The next presentation is about reviewing and evaluating existing file carving techniques for JPEG files by Isra Al-Shamari.
Hello everyone. Welcome to my presentation about reviewing and evaluating existing file carving techniques for JPEG file. I'm Isra Al-Shamari. I did this work with Dr. Ali Hadi, and I want to thank Dr. Ali for his effort. We will talk about introduction, problem and motivation, what is file carving, existing techniques, contribution, conclusion, and the future work. Digital forensic is the process of collecting and preserving and analyzing the evidence that obtained from digital media. If the file system is corrupted or deleted, so we need to establish the carving technique to restore the maximum amount of deleted data, especially the fragments. Our motivation is reviewing the existing techniques for JPEG file carving and evaluating them to identify their characteristic. File carving is the process or methodology that helps the investigator to restore and retrieve the data from unallocated space. But we have two problems. We should deal with it: carving deleted JPEG file or a fragmented file. In case of data loss, there are two techniques, in case of data loss, there are two techniques to restore the data. One, if the file system is corrupted, so we need to use the carving technique. Else, if the file system exists, so we need to use the helpful information that the file system provided, which is metadata. There are many carving techniques used for helping the investigators to find the missing data. These types are file header based, which based on the header of file, header footer based on the header and footer and take or get the block between them, file structure carving based, which depend on the structure of file, metadata carving based, which depend on the metadata that the file system provided. Existing techniques or selected techniques. Thumbnail based, we choose two methodology or methods that depend on thumbnail. One of them a method for recovering JPEG file based on thumbnail, other carving thumbnails and embedded JPEG files using image pattern matching. In terms of absence of file system, we choose identification of fragmented JPEG files in the absence of file system, identification and recovery of JPEG file with missing fragments, and Scalpel, a fragile high-performance file carver. In terms of thumbnail-based, we choose a method for recovering JPEG file. This method recover fragmented JPEG files, and by depending on the process of mapping between the structure of original image and structure of the thumbnail, and then after getting the thumbnail, they use a software to enlarge the image by like Photoshop. Other one, thumbnail based, carving thumbnail. This technique use a unique pattern or unique hexa pattern to detect the thumbnail, embedded JPEG file, and original image. Then they produce a Patrecarve tool. This tool can distinguish between if this fragment or this if this fragment is a embedded or it's a thumbnail or it's a original image. In terms of absence of file system, identification of a fragmented JPEG file in the absence of file system, this technique present in the absence of file system to deal with the most widespread format for storing JPEG file based on a pattern matching and the statistical byte frequency. They calculate the 17 attributes based on the 17 attributes for each fragment. Then they apply a key means cluster to group them into a clusters. Then to group them in a cluster, to consider each fragment as each cluster as a file. And the four widespread types of file, as we seen in the picture, file A, B, C, and D. They say that file A have a header and footer and distributed among the disk. File B have a header without footer distributed among the disk. File C have footer without header, and file D have a header and footer, but in the correct sequence. Other technique, identification and recovery of JPEG file with missing fragments. This technique presents a method that deals with the fragmented file and the standalone fragment based on a standard information that collect or obtained from the structure of JPEG file format, and the general information from the storage media. Last one. Scalpel, a fragile high performance. It's a tool used in file carving techniques, and it's a common tool used to carve file in a fragile manner by reducing the amount of time searching for a header or footer, reducing the number of bytes written in a carved file, and reducing a copying from memory to memory. Our contribution comparison between selected techniques based on type of carving techniques used, fragmentation handling issues, and existing file system. and we proposed a hybrid techniques or a hybrid method based on selected techniques. This table shown the main differences between selected techniques in terms of type of carving techniques used. The first two techniques that based on the thumbnail, they depend on header carving and metadata carving. The third one depend on header carving and header footer, while the last two techniques based on file structure carving. In terms of existing file system, the first two, they depend on the file system to use the metadata that the file system already provided. The third one and the last three techniques, they don't rely on the file system. Last criteria, fragmentation handling issues. The first two, the fragments should be stored in a linear manner. But the third one, the file can be fragmented more than 3 fragments across the disk. And the last two techniques can carve the non-linked fragments. Our hybrid method merged between the method that depends on the statistical byte frequency and in order to get the fragments, and the method that rely on the file structure and JPEG file format in order to generate a pseudo header. Carving, our conclusion, the carving technique present with a brief description and main differences between each of them based on type of carving techniques used, fragmentation handling issues, and existing file system, and proposed a hybrid method to retrieve fragments for the file by using statistical byte frequency and the structure of JPEG file format. And our hybrid method in order to restore the fragments, non-linked fragments and standalone fragments. Our future work addressing other techniques and addressing other types of file like PDF and our hybrid techniques that proposed will undergo to certain experiment to confirm their performance. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Any
question? Yeah.
I would like to ask, what about other extensions for image, such as PNG, BMP?
Okay. I especially take JPEG file because the research that I read it specific for JPEG file, because JPEG file is widespread and very used for camera, for digital devices like camera, your smartphone. So it's the most widespread extension used for yes. Other question? I answer your question, right? Okay.
Any other questions? Yeah, George.
Perhaps there's another dimension to what you're doing. Given the survey you've done, you could perhaps document the circumstances under which you could not recover the JPEG. That might be an interesting document.
I didn't understand your question.
It's a peculiar idea. What I'm saying is that you've analysed the contexts in which you can recover the JPEGs, but that means that you have learned a lot about when you cannot recover.
When you cannot recover?
Yes. So it would be useful if you were able to document the circumstances under which you could not recover the JPEGs.
No, you can recover JPEG files.
Always?
Yeah, always. Because if the file system is corrupted, you choose the carving technique. Otherwise, file system exists. You should use the metadata that the file system already provided, so you can get the fragments. Maybe you can't get all fragments, but you can get.
You're saying that you will always find what's there.
What?
You will always be able to find whatever fragments are there.
Yeah, fragments are there always.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. So let's move to the next presentation. Is about what are all the cyber terrorists from waiting for cyber attack to understanding audiences by Liz Waldeck.
Is it because I'm a Mac?
I don't know. Play? This or this?
Oh, that one there. Sorry.
Yeah?
No, that one there.
Yeah?
Yeah, that
Yes?
goes.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh.
Yes. Okay. Where's... oh, okay, sorry.
شكرا. Good afternoon, and thank you very much for inviting myself and my colleague, Dr. Julian Dugan, here today to Jordan to present some of the initial findings from our current research. The title of this project is Where Are All the Cyber Terrorists? Understanding Audience, and it builds on some of the findings that Julian talked about in his keynote presentation yesterday. The work that we're doing is funded through an Australian Research Council grant, and the title of the grant is The Influence of Online Violent Extremist Narratives in Australia and the United Kingdom. So what are the aims of this project? Our project aims are to develop the role and understanding of internet-based violent extremist content through a mixed method investigation. Essentially, what we're trying to explore are the ways in which online violent extremist messages are received and interpreted, and the context within which this occurs. So our current project is 3 years, and we're in year 1, phase 1. And our focus is on violent extremist content across the breadth of its capacity. So our intention is to gather data from both the right-wing extremist content as well as Islamist content. The project team is multidisciplinary. We have experts from the terrorist domain, as well as media and communications and social psychology. And our project team is based at Edith Cowan University in Western Australia, Macquarie University, Dublin City University in Ireland, and Haifa University in Israel. So when we were exploring and creating the grant application, we were really looking at the current research across 3 domains. And at the moment, our gap analysis, as you'll come to see, has really demonstrated that the majority of terrorist studies on online violent extremist content is focused very much at level 1 and 2. So it really looks at the message, what a violent extremist is saying online, and the medium, how and why are they reaching certain audiences. So, for example, are they using Twitter? Are they using Snapchat, Telegraph, etc.? But our work is really focused at level 3, the receiver. We're interested in this space of audience reception. How are people interpreting the message? Why are they using those mediums? And what are they doing with that message in those mediums? What are they doing with the information? So this slide gives you a brief overview of the project to date. We're currently at the very start of the project in year 1, and we're completing the gap analysis phase. The Venn diagram over there to your right demonstrates what we've tried to do through this gap analysis. We've tried to analyse terrorism studies literature, cyber analysis studies on terrorism studies, and media analysis on audience receptivity, and particularly on case studies where people have tried to apply media studies to the domain of terrorism studies. At the heart of our work, like I've mentioned, is this desire to explore audience receptivity and how it plays into our understandings of violent extremist narratives online. Part and parcel of doing this gap analysis is not only to develop a comprehensive review of the literature and our current understanding, but also to inform the development of our survey tool. In years 2, we are going to roll out the survey tool as well as interviews and focus groups that will be carried out across Australia and in the United Kingdom through our partner Moira Conway at Dublin City University. Years 2 and 3 will be spent capturing this empirical data and analysing it through various forms and means, and finally visualising our findings. So what was the motivation for the study? What led us here in the first place? Yesterday, you heard from Julian about the problems inherent within the terrorist field of research at the moment. And the association, particularly in a policy world, the close association between a perception that violent online extremist content is in some way very dangerous, and it's something that we need to counter. Now, it's not our position that this is incorrect. What we're trying to do is add nuance to this position and really explore how and why, in what ways, violent extremist content and engagement in online violent extremist content can affect and impact offline violent behaviour. The causality between online engagement and offline engagement, it's our hypothesis, is more complex than is currently presented in the literature. So, for example, this quote is taken from the Domestic Security Service MI5 in the United Kingdom. They're talking about Inspire magazine, which is the online magazine developed and produced and disseminated by Al-Qaeda. And MI5 note, as a quote, that Inspire has been read by those involved in at least 7 out of the 10 attacks planned within the United Kingdom since its first issue, that of Inspire in 2010. MI5 judge that it significantly enhanced the capability of individuals in 4 of these 10 attack plans. However, this quote creates numerous questions, and questions that we don't believe can be answered adequately by the data and the information that's available in either the field of terrorism studies or media and communications, taken as separate entities. So, for example, in a paper in 2010, Conway highlights the following unanswered and significant questions. What was the direction of causation? Did Inspire magazine motivate the individuals to commence attack planning? Or were these individuals already on a process of attack planning, and then they further reaffirmed their plans through accessing Inspire magazine? And was the significant enhancement talked about by MI5 experienced homogeneously across the 4 individuals? It's our assertion through our gap analysis that these types of questions simply cannot be answered appropriately at the moment. So what have we found through our gap analysis? First and foremost, studies seem to fit into 2 broad trends. You have those, and I've put a few references in there, that are very much about technological optimists. Now, the choice of optimism is a strange word when coming to violent extremism narratives. Essentially, what these authors are arguing is that the internet, and particularly social media, is an extremely empowering resource for extremist activists. It's something that greatly aids activists, particularly around processes of radicalization and potentially operational planning. However, then you have the technological pessimists, and these are individuals who have identified risks and problems with the position placed by the optimists. These studies highlight potential limitations that challenge the effectiveness of the internet and social media for extremist activists. But underpinning both the optimists and the pessimists is a really important dynamic that has been repeatedly highlighted by social scientists in the terrorist sphere, and that is the paucity of data, particularly empirical primary data. So Gill et al. In a 2015 study reviewed 200 abstracts that were linked to online radicalization. Within that 200 number, they found that only 6.5% utilized any form of data. Within that 6.5%, then only 2% drew on any form of primary data. The same study also highlighted the tendency to dichotomize processes of radicalization online and offline, so that individuals were either radicalized online or radicalized offline. And Gill et al. Highlighted that this perception and this dichotomization process was greatly related to the lack of empirical data. And this is something that we have found consistently in our gap analysis. So Newman in 2015 delineates the majority of current research, despite the paucity of data, slipping into 2 categories. First of all, you have the kinds of studies that look at instrumental use. And so if you think back to my initial slides, that's very much the message. How are things being distributed and how are people using the technology? So this is, studies that look at logistics, fundraising, the provision of training manuals. Now, a lot of these studies have real utility and tell us really interesting things, but many of them also suffer from problems of singularity. So, for example, Bergen and Morgan in 2015 carried out a comprehensive review of the jihadist Twitter space. They reviewed over, two and a half thousand tweets in key jihadist Twitter spaces to explore how and why leaders were created within the Twitter space. So who was becoming an influential Twitterer, so to speak. Now, while they found some useful findings, the problem was they didn't contextualize those findings. A lot of work, as most of you are probably aware, sitting in the technical domain, has been done on exploring influence in the Twitter space within the media and communications domain. And Bergen and Morgan failed to insert their findings and contextualize their findings, and indeed compare and contrast their findings to parallel studies that have been done on non-jihadist platforms in Twitter space. And this is a key problem that we see time and again in those studies in the terrorist domain seeking to provide a more technical oversight, that they look at the use of platforms but then don't cross-compare their data to work being done in parallel domains, both in the cyberspace as well as the media and communication space. However, the majority of the literature that we have come across in the terrorist domain, focusing in the online space, is very much looking at the communicative use, so that first stage, the first level of analysis. It's looking at what extremist content is saying, the construction of narratives, how the publications are being framed by the people producing the material, how they are seeking to spread their messages, what the role of imagery might be in certain sites, so the use of visual imagery analysis. And these studies are really important. It's vital to understand what people are trying to get across to an audience. But a lot of these studies have also been relatively singular. They've relied on content analysis techniques that have looked at counting words, counting keywords, trying to identify keywords. And so Dr. Drugan has been the lead analyst on a number of interesting studies that have sought to push content analysis further into a more technical domain, and he's conducted research, and this talks about his Inspire-based research, that identifies, visualizes and analyzes narrative themes within Inspire magazine. He's taken a far more systematic approach and a thematic approach, and this is important because it highlights the dynamism that's involved in the message. So individuals who are producing Inspire magazine, in the past, a lot of the research has suggested a very homogeneous content narrative. And what Dr. Drugan's research has shown is that the messages are far more dynamic. They're very reactive, they change, they're nuanced, they're seeking different types of audiences. And so, even the message itself is highly reactive and highly dynamic. And that's something, that process needs to be captured and explored. Nonetheless, it still remains focused on the producer. And so our gap analysis is really trying to explore the role of the audience. But an audience in an online platform, as you'll all be aware, is itself highly dynamic. And we've looked very much towards this notion of prosumer, which was initially developed by Toffler in the 1970s and 80s and 90s, and has been written about more recently by Ritzer in 2010, who describes the prosumer as a user-led collaborative process that melds consumption with production. And this is really important because it pushes terrorism studies into a new domain, a domain that recognizes that while the content itself is complex, those who are utilizing that content are equally complex. Not every single person who engages and utilizes the narrative will understand it in the same way, will use it in the same way, will reproduce it in the same way. And these are really important when we start to think about how we ultimately might want to counter some of these messages or engage with the individuals who are interested in these messages. To date, there have been very, very few studies in the literature that have actively sought to take awareness of these more dynamic understandings of audience as prosumers. One of the only studies to date that's really pushed the boundaries and done this is the work by Hedgehammer in 2014, and his work on the formation of trust in audience jihadist forums. And he looked at the complexity of how one builds trust in online forums, and how does that transpose into, in this case, the jihadist space. And his research ends with more questions than answers, but it does do primary empirical data, and it does highlight the complexity of audience engagement and collaboration with the narrative. And so, where are we going to next? As I said, we are in the final stages of our gap analysis. We are trolling through media analysis and brand management strategy literature in order to try and identify frameworks of analysis and theories that are potentially useful in our conceptualizations of a dynamic audience within online content analysis. We're also in the very early stages of developing our survey tool and our interview and focus groups that will begin next year. In particularly, we're starting to consider audience segmentation and how this will flow into our survey tool, and how we create a survey tool that is dynamic enough to capture the audience complexity in and of itself. We're also preparing our outreach methods, because obviously engagement with individuals in spaces that are engaged in extremist narratives is sometimes quite complex, as you can appreciate. And so hopefully next time I present, I'll have some more substantial findings from our empirical analysis that we are about to begin. And our aim is very much to situate the analysis within a framework that recognises the dynamism of audience when it comes to violent extremist narratives online. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any question?
Thank you, Liz, for this interesting presentation. Indeed, it's a timely topic, and it's really interesting. While you're presenting, in fact, I had lots of thoughts, and at the same time, I feel pity for you, because you will be facing lots of challenges. But my really main question here, you talked about doing interviews and surveys with the potential individuals. So I'm just wondering how you would be managing to do so.
Yes. My colleague Julian and I are very well placed in the sense that we have connectivity into forums currently engaged in, who themselves are currently engaged in dialogue with those producing and disseminating violent extremist online content from the right-wing perspective. We also have strong connections into organisations that are examining and have access to the jihadist kind of platforms. And so we have access from an Eastern Australian perspective into both the right and the jihadist kind of space. Our colleague Anne Ali, who obviously unfortunately for us, although fortunately for her, who was recently elected to be the first female Muslim to Parliament in Australia, the colleague that she has recruited has great connectivity into the same audiences in Western Australia. And Moira Conway Professor Conway is a distinguished terrorism researcher in Ireland who has strong connectivity into a range of networks in the United Kingdom. And so we'll be utilising those networks to develop the interviews and focus groups, while the survey tool is very much under development. We're being led by Professor Gabriel Weimann, who has done a number of similar kinds of survey tools in his work on media analysis in the terrorist space.
Thank you. Well, the reason I'm asking this is because I'm doing a very similar survey about interviewing and questioning cyber criminal, in fact, who had been sentenced and they are spending their time in jail. And I find that by the time you seek the ethical approvals and the permission to go and speak with them, they refuse simply to talk. Another challenge maybe for you is most, not so all of course, but most of the terrorists, I'm assuming, will be under the name of Islam, and that would be required another challenge, like understanding and speaking Arabic.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that maybe I should emphasize is that we're also interested in not just those who are engaging and become violent extremists, but those who engage and don't. And perhaps we're even more interested in the people who are engaging and utilizing and disseminating this material and content, but then themselves never engage in any form of offline violent extremist behavior, and capturing both and the broad range of people, and that's part and parcel of looking at the dynamism of audience typology. But yes, the language issue is obviously is present, and then you have to look at interpreters and interpretation of data.
Yeah, the last question.
Just one point, a thought in passing. I understand what you were saying about the tendency to analyse content historically. It's a relatively easy thing to address. But from your interest in the information consumer, perhaps it would be worthwhile looking at the dimension of what message is actually being taken rather than what message is actually being offered.
Absolutely, and that is one of the things that we really want to explore. What is resonating with the people who are consuming? What are they reposting? What are they reproducing? What are they ignoring? And I think that's why the study is very. And I think we were talking in the coffee break before about utilising both a baseline content analysis of that, the message, as well as audience receptivity, because the two go hand in hand.
Last question. So it will be the last one, as we need to stop to break for the lunch.
Okay. My question is: the social network represents one side of the audience or the person who uses it. You need to also to understand the education of this person, because what I express in the social network is just part of my life. If I want to understand the terrorist and how he thinks, I need also to understand the educational level, what he has learned, the educational background of him, and all the let's say the culture that he lives in, that he led him to this way of thinking that he expressed in the social network. I guess this point also you can take into consideration when you analyze the terrorism.
Thank you very much. Absolutely. In no way, shape or form would we present any of the findings that we had as a kind of silver bullet. The radicalization process, whether it's online or offline or a melding of the two, is hugely complex, and of course must take into consideration psychological and personal dynamics, as well as contextual dynamics of environment as well. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So as I said, we need to break for lunch, and I do apologize again for the remaining speakers, as we'll shift again their presentation to after lunch. Thank you. So, Jafar will bring the certificate. So.